We just got a lot of news about Arc Raiders, the up-and-coming extraction shooter. Yes, extraction shooter. It's a genre that a lot of people kind of just roll their eyes and kind of like hand wave away. But for some reason, Arc Raiders has an extremely good reception, and that's because, well, they're just doing it right. They're doing everything right, by the book. And today I wanted to go over exactly why I think that their decision makings are going to lead up to being a very good game. Embark is not a big studio, and as I stated before, extract shooters are very, very punishing. They're not very popular, and a lot of people aren't really happy when they hear that another one's coming to the market. But people flooded Arc Raiders' first open test and absolutely loved it. Most people were really sad that it was closing, and that's because they were creative and made a very good environment and really fleshed out their ideas very well. Much unlike Marathon, who I'm not going to sit here and bash too much. However, one thing that they do share in common with Marathon now, as of yesterday, is the fact that it's a paid title. And yes, that is a good thing. Extraction shooters are supposed to be high risk, high reward. You get in, it's PvE/PvP, you make the right decisions, you leave with the right things that aid you in your next run. And having really good FPS skills and decision-making skills and good timing with a little bit of luck is kind of like the recipe for an extraction shooter. A lot of Escape from Tarkov fans know exactly what I'm talking about. And unlike arena shooters or battle royales, where it's kind of okay to have microtransactions for the most part as long as you're tasteful, a game that has an economy and a gameplay loop that's based on you being self-reliant and getting all of your valuable items to level yourself up through those extractions, there is no place for a marketplace there that can basically kind of just like inject convenience into the game. When you die with a backpack full of stuff, it stays in that raid. It goes away. You're never going to get that back. But if they have a microtransaction store full of things that are extremely alluring and maybe helpful, it's not going to help the economy of the game or the gameplay loop out at all. It also doesn't stop, but it definitely slows cheaters down. You know, a lot of people will say, well, Escape from Tarkov had a bunch of cheaters. What do you mean? That was a paid title. Imagine if it was free. People respect free-to-play games a lot less and cheat a lot more in them because there isn't a bill to pay every time you get caught. And again, extraction shooters are very punishing. It's even worse if you add cheaters into the equation. So if there's a way to not negate them, you're not going to get all the cheaters out of the game, but you will taper them a little bit by having an entry fee of $40 or $60. $60 gets you to the deluxe version, which does kind of put you on first base. But again, I'm not trying to say, oh, here's the whataboutisms, but I mean, Escape from Tarkov kind of did do that with the EOD and enhanced editions that give you more space and more places inside of your stash. Just because they do it doesn't mean that Arc Raiders should do it, but they are. It's not that big of a deal. Personally, I don't think that the $60 deluxe edition offers enough for me to say like, oh, people are substantially kitted more than I am, and I feel like I'm at a disadvantage on literally day one. You start with a Pathfinder backpack, a blanket roll, a lip scar cosmetic, and a finger roll rapid fire emote. It's mostly cosmetic, which I'm perfectly fine with. Cosmetics are exactly what I would want in a game that has microtransactions. I think it's benign and a really good way to feed a AA studio like Embark to continue to grease the wheels and keep the place looking nice. That's all I'm looking for. We talked about respecting the price tag a lot when it comes to cheating, but it also makes you respect the game a little bit more because you paid for it. Like, this is a very punishing game, and I think that a lot of people will probably leave it after their first 5 or 6 raids after realizing they're getting absolutely nowhere, especially if they're playing the game like an arena shooter or like a battle royale. They're probably going to have a very difficult time. But I think frustrated players will less likely put the game down if they had spent $40 or $60 on it, because that's an investment. Also, there's a public playtest, which is really important. And I also think that's why the public playtest is equally important, to stress the servers out and get the people familiar with the game. Embark Studios is quite literally calling their open playtest a server slam, which is very fitting because the last one was a very good, very popular server test. And I think this one's going to be even stronger. So this is pretty much like their way of taking the temperature, figuring out how much server they're going to need, how much bandwidth, how many people are going to be flooding this game when it comes out. Now, a lot of people hear that October release date and they think, oh, well, I know of another FPS game that's going to be coming out and it's kind of conflicting. I think that if you had a Venn diagram of Battlefield 6 players and people interested in Arc Raiders, that there is a middle ground. I don't know how much inside of that overlap would be, but it's definitely there, and there's no denying it. I don't know about you guys, but I view Battlefield as like a very casual FPS game. It seems like, you know, you're not really sweating. There's no like ranked modes. I'm not seeing people playing on like Battlefield leagues on like LAN. It doesn't seem like that's at least not sanctioned like CDL or Apex or Valorant. So like when you look at a game like that and compare it to Arc Raiders, which is a very, very stressful game, I think that it's a very different audience. Is there some overlap? Absolutely. Will some of them choose Battlefield instead of Arc Raiders? Most likely, yeah. And this game could very well be the springboard for extraction shooters that everybody's been waiting for to make it fun. While PUBG is still a very popular game, especially now that it launched on mobile and on consoles, originally it was only on PC, people could only play it there, and there was a lot of console market that wanted to play a battle royale, which is where Fortnite basically changed the identity of their entire game from being like a tower defense building game into a battle royale with building into it. And I think that was the springboard for battle royale, just as this could very well be a springboard for extraction shooters if it's done well and if it's most importantly fun. There's a really good chance that it'll have the Apex effect, where it kind of just sits in the background and it has its own identity and it's unapologetically like completely different than everything else in the market. Eventually, people started noticing Apex exactly for what it was, and it got really popular. I would love to see that for Arc Raiders as long as they continue down the path of making really good decisions, making a fun game, making sure that it's consumer friendly, and keeping that microtransaction store that I'm pretty certain that they're going to have nice and squeaky clean. As long as they continue to do that, I have absolutely no objections as to why they can't pull it off. I don't even like extraction shooters, but I'm really excited for this one because it just seems to hit different.